Right, hello there. This is a bit of a follow-up video to the video I made last week about Madeleine McCann's disappearance. Since I made that video, I've had a lot of criticism for some of the things I said in it. Now, before I made that video last week, I made it very clear to everybody that it was going to be a video spoken through emotion rather than clear, concise thinking. But despite this, I still, received a torrent of criticism for the video. So what I did was, when I made the video, I wasn't even aware that there was a Netflix documentary regarding Madeleine's disappearance. So I watched that documentary, all 8 episodes in one day, just to glean as much information as I could about the Madeleine case, even though I thought I had plenty of information from watching the news and bulletins and reports and reading newspapers and reading online over the past 12 years. So I have to be honest that the Netflix documentary brought a whole lot of other things to light for me. So, for instance, things that I believed were facts were in fact unproven, and things I thought were hard evidence were actually disputed. Now, I can hold my hands up when I make a mistake or when I say something that's wrong, and I'm not averse to criticism, and I'm big enough to admit to my own mistakes. Okay, so what criticisms did I get after my video then? Well, some were pedantic. I had one woman claiming I was an idiot, okay, unintelligent, simply because I mispronounced, the word Freudian and said instead fraudulent, okay? And another person was criticising me for claiming that Madeleine's mother, Kate, refused to answer 24 questions from the police when the actual figure was 48. Okay, I got it wrong. I was trying to remember from probably years ago the number of questions, okay? Pedantic criticisms there were. But a lot of them were valid criticisms. So I was criticised heavily for my reliance on the evidence of the sniffer dogs in proving, in my mind at the time, the McCann's complicit. So, especially the cadaver dog who sensed a corpse in the apartment. Well, the person who argued this point with me pointed out that sniffer dogs cannot be used as evidence, and that the evidence anyway was inconclusive, and the DNA evidence also came back inconclusive. And I accept this fully, but it does seem strange to me that a dog who's trained to simply react when it senses a corpse somewhere went wild in the McCann's apartment. So for me, that is still a great big unanswered question. Another thing I got slated for was claiming that when it came to Maddie, the McCanns seemed to be very emotionless. And one person said, well, they've been looking for their daughter now for 13 years. What does that tell you? Well, it doesn't tell me much. It tells me this, that if I was complicit in the disappearance or the harming of my child, and I chose to lie about it, I would have to keep this pretense up of searching for her for the rest of my days. Simple as. And also, the McCanns weren't paying for these expensive investigations out of their own pocket. A rich benefactor was paying for them. Another thing I got shot down for was referring to the situation whereby if it was a lower class couple who were in the same situation, and somebody said to me, that I'm criticising the McCanns for having the temerity to be middle class. I didn't mention the McCann's class. I'm just saying that if a lower class couple were in the same situation, they would be vilified more by the mainstream media, more by the authorities, and the finger would have been pointed at them for longer than it was the McCanns. That's all I was saying. And that's nothing to do with the McCanns or their class. That's to do with our mainstream media and their attitudes towards working class people. Another thing I got vilified for was claiming that Kate McCann going for a jog the morning after her child disappeared was like a great big red flag to me. So the person disputing this claimed that Kate and Jerry both went for a run that morning to clear their heads and to trying to decide what was the best way forward. Listen, I've been on this planet for 50 years. I've met a couple of thousand mothers in my time. And I'm telling you now, I've never met yet one mother who the morning after her little 3-year-old daughter disappeared would be able to stand up unaided, let alone go for a jog. Right, what else did I get criticised for? I got criticised for stating that over the years I've watched body language experts and psychoanalysts, looking at the McCanns and their interviews and when they're out and about, and many of these experts claiming that through their experience and what they're seeing, they believe that the McCanns could well be complicit in the disappearance of their daughter. And the person criticising me for this basically said, well, their evidence, can't be brought into court, so it's a good job, it's a good job they're not on a jury or something to that effect. Yeah. Another thing I got criticised for in the comments section was a suggestion I made. And the suggestion was this: if I was in the place of Jerry McCann and I was being hounded and accused, basically, of harming or causing the disappearance of my own daughter, I would go to the authorities and I would demand a lie detector test. I would demand a lie detector test. In other words, I would do everything I could think of in my power, to prove to people that I was innocent of being accused of harming my own child. Now, the guy who's arguing with me said, well, a lie detector test isn't 100% accurate and it can't be used as evidence in court. I'm not talking about accuracy and I'm not talking about evidence in court. I'm talking about a father demanding one if that's the only way he can prove to the many doubters that he wasn't complicit. Nothing to do with courts. Just as a parent, I would be so distraught at the thought that people were pointing their fingers at me, rightly or wrongly, especially wrongly. I would want to do everything in my power, including demanding a lie detector test. I got shouted down for that. Right. Another thing I got vilified for was claiming that this German paedophile, who's being pinpointed now as a possible murderer of Madeleine, could well be a fit-up. It could be a cover-up to cover up the real perpetrators. So I've got a guy on to me saying, so the German government are complicit, and the British government and MI5 and all of the McCann's friends and Scotland Yard and even Gordon Brown must all be in this big cover-up. Okay? Why would the Germans be covering up for the death of a young English girl? Basically, anybody out there who doesn't believe that they're inter-countries, inter-police forces, inter-organisations, who get together to cover up things, you're blind, absolutely. And also, he brought Gordon Brown into the equation. So I pointed out to this guy that Gordon Brown was complicit for years in covering up the grooming gangs, the raping of young English girls for years in this country. So he's well versed in the art of cover-ups. In fact, as soon as he mentioned Gordon Brown's name, he'd lost the argument. Right. Now, another thing that I've been vilified for, and I actually agree with this, I've been vilified for basically accusing the McCanns of being involved without any hard evidence. And I hold up my hands and I apologise for that. I should not do it. I should not have accused them without hard evidence. I can have an opinion, I can surmise, but I or nobody else can really make them kind of accusations without the hard evidence. Okay? But the problem you have is, like in a case like this, where there is no hard evidence, okay? No evidence that is stuck to implicate the McCanns. But by the same token, there's no evidence to say that this was a kidnapping either. There's no DNA evidence. There's no fingerprint evidence for a strange person in that apartment. Okay? So basically, with no hard evidence, what do you do? The only other thing that can be done in a case like this, is basically to analyse the behaviour and the testimony of the people involved. Okay? So if you look at the behaviour of the McCanns, right from the outset, they came across as very cold and very calculated and so totally in control. And that's not me just saying it. That's millions of people worldwide commenting on the cold, calculated nature of the McCanns in the way they behaved in their interviews, in the information they were willing to give, the information they wanted to withhold. Cold and calculated, like totally in control. You know, people say, oh, well, that's the way they're brought up as doctors. It's because of their middle class status and their profession. Bullshit, yeah. A parent is a parent. Class, occupation doesn't come into it when a parent's love will shine through all them factors. Now, believe it or not, I actually believe that the McCanns loved their children wholeheartedly. They loved their twins and they loved Maddie unconditionally. I believe that absolutely. But it begs this question of me, yeah? When you see videos of them with their kids prior to this incident, you can see the love, you can see the affection they have. Why, after one of them goes missing, suddenly they become emotionless, they become calculated, yeah? They show a lack of passion, just pure passion, anger even, yeah? At whoever's taking their daughter. Where is all them emotions gone for people who obviously love Madeleine? It points a huge finger to me towards them being complicit, yeah, in my opinion, okay? Because they haven't found it within themselves to fake the emotion that's required to quell the suspicions of people like me. Right, now when it comes to the testimony, yeah, again, we haven't been partial to all the interviews between the police and the McCanns and witnesses and the McCanns' friends and the police and the other suspects, etc., Robert Murat and people like that, etc., etc. But some of the things that have come out, is that the Portuguese police have claimed, and everything's a claim, okay? They've claimed that in an interview with Kate McCann, she said that when she first entered Maddie's room and noticed her missing, she peeped under Maddie's bed to see if she was there. And the police chief said, hang on, she didn't have a bed. It was a large mattress lay flat to the floor. How could you peep under a large mattress flat to the floor? That's just one anomaly with some of the testimony. Also, Jerry was asked on one occasion, did Kate give Madeleine anything at all to try and help her sleep that night? And he said absolutely not. The next time he was asked by the press that question, his answer was this: yeah, she may have given her some Calpol, but for anybody to suggest she gave her anything else is nonsense. Again, another anomaly in the testimony. And I'm sure there's a lot more anomalies and backing and forth in the interviews, the early interviews from the Portuguese police, because something turned their attention from thinking of this as a kidnapping into believing the McCanns were suspects. So what changed their mind? And I can only believe that it was to do with the testimony, to do with the statements, the witness statements, and anomalies in some of them. Okay, so anyway, this Netflix documentary, yeah, what did I think of it? Well, it seemed to be like a true indication of events, yeah, and a true timeline of events, yeah. But I do believe, and I felt it as I watched through the eight episodes, it was becoming more and more biased, yeah, towards dragging us away from suspecting the McCanns and into believing that out there somewhere there was a kidnapper. Okay, that's just my opinion. That's the way it felt to me, yeah. But the thing with the documentary is it basically posed a lot more questions than it answered. So, for instance, to me, the key person in this whole investigation was the McCann's friend, Jane Tanner. This is the lady who claimed she saw a man carrying a child who looked like Madeleine down the street in the vicinity of the McCann's apartments that night. She claimed the man was barefoot. Now, why he was barefoot is anybody's guess. But also, if she claimed it was a child that looked like Madeleine and the guy was suspicious looking, barefoot, yeah, do you not think you may have gone for a closer look just to see if it was, in fact, Madeleine? Now, again, this is just rumours and not claims. These are not facts. But it has been said on many occasions that Jane Tanner's testimony changed dramatically from time to time, back and forth, back and forth. Again, that's just a rumour. I'm not claiming it as a fact, but that has been rumoured. Okay? Also, another question that's never been answered really is, As we said before, the McCanns are cold and calculated, they're in control. How come on the night of the child's disappearance, they allowed all their friends to trample all over the apartment and possibly disturbing vital evidence in the process? Why? You know your child's gone missing, you know it's a crime scene. Yeah, you're two cold, calculated, middle class doctors, very intelligent. Why would you allow that crime scene to be trampled all over? And on top of that, another question pertaining to the same circumstances. How come the other two children didn't wake all night long amid all the commotion, all the screaming, all the crying apparently, all the shouting, all the noise? Them two children slept right through that night. Must have been deep sleepers, right? Another piece of evidence, and this is actually evidence that hasn't really been delved into enough in my opinion. The McCanns claim that an abductor came through the shutter and the window at the front. Okay, there were no fingerprints found on the shutter. There were no fingerprints found on the window. The only print found on the window was a palm print, and the experts claimed it was a palm print, which meant that the person who left the print was sliding the window open with their palm. This palm print belonged to Kate McCann. When Kate McCann came into that room, she told the police the window was open. Was it open? Did Kate McCann open the window herself? A palm print like that could be deemed as hard evidence, but I don't know how deep the police have delved into it, but Netflix certainly didn't delve too deep into it anyway. Yeah. Right. So the thing is, the one thing about this case then seems to be a complete lack of hard evidence. A lack of hard evidence to pinpoint the McCanns or to pinpoint the fact that there was actually a kidnapping. But what we do know is that Madeleine's gone missing. And just because there's no hard evidence, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to say, we're sorry, Madeleine, but it's been 13 years now, we've got no evidence, we just have to give up on you, child, wherever you are, if you're dead or alive. Sorry, but there's no evidence. No, and why should we do that? Yeah, and like I said before, if you lack in hard evidence, you've got to go back over, the behaviour and the testimony, with a fine-tooth comb. All the interviews, everything that's ever been said, on camera, off camera, the lot, and see if you can't come up with something, to fix this mess, to find the perpetrator of this crime, okay? And not just pin it on some German guy because it's convenient. Because I find it very hard to believe that after 13 years, this guy's just surfaced. It's just surfaced that he's a paedophile. It's just surfaced that, he was living in Pré de Luge. Even the documentary said they scoured the whole area and basically speaking to everyone with a criminal record, every known paedophile, everybody. And 13 years later, this guy just appears conveniently. Right. So basically, if you haven't got hard evidence in a case like this, what are you left with? Yeah. Or in the case of somebody like me, who wants Madeleine to be found or Madeleine to receive justice. So I'm going to have an opinion. And that's all I'm left with. I'm left with my opinion. And with no hard evidence, all I'm left with, to form my opinion is my own gut feeling. Okay? Now, if my gut feeling is wrong, I will be the first person to come on here and apologise reservedly, to anybody I've offended with my opinion. Okay? But basically, this is my opinion. I truly believe that the McCanns, in my opinion, are in some way complicit with the disappearance of Madeleine. And I get that opinion not by evidence, okay, but simply by behaviour. By being on this planet for 50 years and dealing with thousands of people in thousands of circumstances and speaking with and listening to thousands of people in all kinds of situations. And it just won't leave me, it won't leave my mind certain aspects of the McCann's behaviour, right, which doesn't rest easy with me. And you can make all the excuses you want in the world, but you can't change my mind about 2 or 3 instances. The jog the morning after, is one. Okay, a mother full of love for her child would be in a state of despair and desperation up to 48, 72, 96 hours later, would not be clear-headed enough to behave the way Kate did that next day. Okay, but Of all the things surrounding this case, there's one instance above all others that makes me think something's not right. And I can direct you to it because it's in the Netflix documentary. And basically, if you go to episode 3 and go to 17 minutes and 25 seconds, it's the part of the documentary where Kate and Jerry are being interviewed by the press. And it's the first time where they're being interviewed where people have actually pointed out to them that some people are now accusing them of having something to do with Madeleine's disappearance. Kate speaks first, doesn't give much away. Then Jerry speaks. And at the end of his little speech, Jerry says, myself and Kate had absolutely nothing to do with Madeleine's disappearance. As soon as he finished that sentence, he made an expression with his face looking downwards. I can't mimic it exactly as he gave it you, but that expression told me everything, that he just said was untrue. It's as simple as that. If you're stating a fact like that, me as a father, this is how I would come across. I know everybody's different, but 99% of people, I believe, would come at it like this. Me and my wife had absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance of our daughter. And I would give the questioner a look of defiance. Okay? I defy you to say that about me again. I defy you to accuse me. I defy you to claim I don't love my daughter unconditionally. This man read that sentence out and he put his face to the ground. Okay? Watch it yourself, make your own mind up. But that's one of the few instances throughout the whole of this case that gives me the gut feeling that in some way, in my opinion, not a fact, in some way, in my opinion, Madeleine's parents are complicit for what's happened to her. Okay, so anyway, I hope I set some of the things straight. Anything I've got wrong, I'm willing to apologise for. But things I feel strongly about, I will always back myself. Okay, and I hope that's what this video has done. Okay, there's just one last word I need to say to one of my critics, by the way. Okay, and it's the clown who claimed that I'm completely irrelevant because of my scarcity of subscribers to my channel. So to that clown, I don't even remember his name, I say this: when the walls fall down and I'm stood there facing danger, I want 100 wolves at my back, not 20,000 sheep. Until next time, guys, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Bye for now.